Happy Monday! Hello, everybody. I just wanted to jump in here today and introduce you to my next Motivational Monday guest. I can't believe it's Monday number one. The weekend went by so fast, but it was a really good weekend for me. And I hope you guys all had a really great weekend as well. Carol, I see you jumping on. So before I add Carol to the conversation here, I just want to introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Lauryn Laszczak. I'm a mama to two girls. I married my high school sweetheart. We are both building a real estate business together right now. And then I also have a business where I empower women through beauty and business. So thank you for joining me. If you're not a part of Meadows Beauty House group, if you're watching this sort of, if it was linked somewhere or shared, I would love for you to go ahead and add yourself to my group and become a part of our tribe. It's been a really awesome kind of year and almost a year and a half coming up here. And we have so much fun in there. So I hope you will join me. So I'm gonna go ahead and add Carol to the conversation. And as you guys are jumping on, don't forget to tell us, are you a wine lover or not? If I could have a glass of wine right now at 1 o'clock on Monday, I probably would. So my answer is yes. Okay, let me go ahead and add Carol to the conversation. Okay, she's coming. So it's gonna be nice and easy for you guys because Carol is my cousin. So we're gonna have fun. I know it. There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
I need a new phone. Can you tell?
What did you say?
I said I need a new phone. Can you tell?
Well, yes, this is a little bit telling, but it's okay. We won't fault you.
No, thanks. I'm going today.
Actually, the beauty of your phone is like you kind of look like good no matter what. There's not enough clarity. So
Thank you.
Gotta find the good stuff, right?
That's right.
So I was just starting to tell everybody that you and I are cousins, which makes this conversation so nice and easy. And I know that some of you watching will be family and friends, and you'll already know Carol. But Carol, for those watching that do not know you, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Carol Hill. I'm a wine advisor for Wines for Humanity. I'm a mother of two wonderful children, and I'm Lauren's cousin.
That's right. So let's go back a little bit because I know you do so much more than all of that, and I kind of want to know like where else you came from and how you got started in this, and anybody that's like, what's Wines for Humanity? Like, take us back and take us through all this goodness.
Sure. So my full-time job is I work in technology. So I provide professional development training for teachers in my school district. And as being a mom of two, I've always been, kid first. Always wanted to do things for the kids, be home for the kids, be able to help them with school or their homework or whatever the case may be. Well, now my children are becoming adults. And with that comes, what am I going to do with that free time?
Yeah.
So I had gone to a wine sampling at one of my friend's house, and she was raising money for the Humane Society. And I thought, well, this is great. I'd love to go to this. So I went to the wine sampling, and in that process, I met Bonnie, who is my mentor. And she had mentioned this opportunity, and I kept saying, I think I could do this. I really think I could do this. And I came home and I told my husband, who is my biggest cheerleader, my biggest support, the person that is my purpose. And he said, what are you waiting for? Give her a call. Let her know you're interested. And I kept saying, I don't know. Helena's birthday was coming up. Christmas was coming up. New Year's was coming up. I don't know if the timing is right. Well, Bonnie, with her wonderful business sense, didn't push, sent me the information, and then followed up in January. And it just so happened that same night in January, I was out with my girlfriends. And my girlfriends, we were talking about what we were going to do in retirement. And in the back of my mind, I had this little ping, you're going to do that Wines for Humanity thing. And, I still didn't follow through right away. But when I got home, I got an email from Bonnie. And so I told Doug, and of course he said, well, still, I don't know what you're waiting for. And, I said, well, let me still think about it. And of course, the next day, I get one of those Dove chocolates. And if you've ever had a Dove chocolate, there's a message on the inside of it. And I read that Dove chocolate and it said, "What are you waiting for?" So,
No. Did
so I
Doug
knew
take that?
that,
Was that a prank from Doug? Did he make
maybe all the Dove chocolates say that in that particular package. I don't know.
that?
Um, but I contacted Bonnie and we sat down and discussed it. And I became a wine advisor in February of 2018.
Okay.
So just a few short months ago.
Hmm. Okay, so many things about that. Number one, I love how you said like that you kind of had a feeling, but the timing wasn't right because
Hmm.
like that is everything. I feel like any woman that I'm talking to, on here, everyone says kind of has that similar story. Because I know for me, I've said it in here a couple times to you guys. Like I was the same way. I was just about to have Gwen, and like, I mean, having a newborn, starting a business. Like, what are you, insane? Like the timing couldn't have been worse. But sometimes like it just happens when it happens, and like if I mean, you kind of got to ignore that factor, but that's a huge factor.
It really is. It really is. And the timing just has to be right. And when it is right, everything just falls right into place. It
Yeah.
truly does.
Yeah, and I think another part of that I loved that you spoke about was just how Doug was like championing you and just like, what are you waiting for? I mean, that right there, sometimes even when the timing's not right, but you have somebody who's just kind of pushing you along and supporting you and
Hmm.
reminding you, like, hey, you can do it. Like, it doesn't have to be your husband, but like a friend, a family member, that's a huge help. Do you feel
It
like that's
really
kind of
is.
like what kind of, well, other than the Dove chocolate, do you feel like that's what kind of made you get past your own insecurities, or what were you feeling at that time?
At that time, it was one of those where I wasn't sure if I had that confidence, if I had that, is this just something that was it the wine talking? Was it something that I really wanted to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I knew that I could do it. I knew in the moment that I could do it, but 2 or 3 months passed, and I thought, am I still really wanting to do this? Do I do want to do this? And
Yeah.
and I do. I do. I love it. I love the fact that I'm able to be with people, meet new people, and to be able to give back to charity and to be able to hear everyone's stories and why they pick the charities that they do.
Yeah.
So it's a great, and I wanted to learn more about wine and
Hmm.
the food pairings that go with the wine. And it's just a win-win-win situation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And I've hosted a wine tasting with Carol before, and they are
My
so
first.
fun. Yeah, your first one. That's right.
It
Well,
was.
I think it kind of went like this. Hey, I'm starting this business around wine, and I was like, me. Don't have to ask me twice. But okay, so I guess a couple of things I'm thinking as you're telling that story. Well, first of all, I have a lot of women who, even in my business, want to join. And they hear the calling, they open the Dove chocolate, like they finally like see the sign, and they,
Mhm.
number one, allow themselves to kind of go for something. That's amazing. That's a huge step. But then once you get started and you realize, oh my gosh, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to figure out here.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people either like, they press on or they stop and they never truly start, even though they started their business. So, what did
Mhm.
that, after you decide to go for this, what did that next kind of level, next learning level, especially with wine? I assume that's like a bit overwhelming to me as a
Mhm.
drinker, but not necessarily knowledgeable to talk the talk. Like, what was the next step?
So, once you make that decision, once you make that leap of faith, Wines for Humanity has a tremendous training program.
Hmm.
They go through a lot of, reading and a lot of documentation and a lot of training videos. And I just ate everything up, whether it was reading it, whether it was watching it, I ate everything up.
Yeah.
And before you can start, you have to take a quiz.
Oh,
And you have to just to make sure you know what it is you're talking about, right? You can't just go out there blindly and just you know throw caution to the wind. You kind of need to be a little knowledgeable.
hmm.
And you for the score, I got a 98% because I'm an overachiever. You know, I was shooting for that 100, but I was happy to get the 98. But you go through that training process because they don't want you to, they want you to succeed. You know what I mean? They truly want you to succeed. And whether it be my mentor, whether it be the president of the company, whether it be other people that are, other mentors, they really, truly, genuinely want you to succeed. And so that was the next step was I made the commitment. This is what I'm going to do. I spoke with Bonnie every single week for probably about 3 or 4 weeks. I held my open for business, and then I held my first sampling, which was at your house.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun. It's truly been a lot of fun.
So that's great. It sounds like you have a lot of support. And I guess just being a high achiever, you're willing to kind of push yourself to learn what you need to learn. Is there any, I felt like this for a while with Meadows Beauty House, like as far as my Senegence business, that going into it, I barely wore any makeup, like didn't really have a very huge, wealth of knowledge when it came to makeup. But I was like, I'm just going to learn. And it was a little uncomfortable kind of throwing myself into that situation. And I know obviously your first tasting was with family and that's more comfortable, but like, how was that? Like just kind of throwing yourself into, I think a lot of people would panic thinking like, okay, I'm just going to go to my first tasting and like, kind of play the role. And how was that? Like what was happening up there?
I am not going to have a filter when I answer this question. But, before I left for your house, my mentor said, what is your goals? Because that's the most important part, right? What is your goal? Is the goal to book another sampling? Is the goal to, how much money we're going to raise for charity? Is the goal to how many sales we're going to make? How many bottles of wine are you going to, promote? You make goals for every sampling that you go to. And she said, so then before I left for your house, she said, so what is your goal? And I said, honestly, I just want to make it through the sampling without peeing my pants. I mean, that was my whole goal. I just want to make it through. So it was great that it was with family. It was awesome that I just felt really comfortable. And I think it was your sister-in-law had asked, how long have you been doing this? And I'm like, oh, it's the first day, So I made it through. And then after that, I was like, big sigh of relief. I know I can do this. This is great. Let's go.
Yeah.
So,
I am a true believer, and this is case in point of Alyssa, right? Asking you like, hey, how long have you been doing this? You just fake it till you make it. Like, I totally believe that. I actually I think it was last year, I went back to Utica, back to my high school, and gave a speech to the drama class. And I said, sometimes they were asking me, like, what do I do if I don't, like, have enough to put on my resume, blah, blah. And I said, well, you just fake it till you make it. And my old teacher was like, I'm not sure, like, you should be telling, like, kids to, like, and I'm like, no, I'm not telling you to lie. I'm telling you that you should be just so confident with having one thing on that resume that you walk into a room, you shine, and they're like, well, they must have 10 things on that resume because you just fake it. And you don't fake it to other people, you don't lie, but you're honestly just faking it to yourself. Like, you just had to fake it to yourself. I'm a pro while I'm doing this. Like, when you talk to someone, you just keep faking it till you make it. Like, I feel like that is 100% how you have to kind of live your life if you're ever going to go for something that you don't know something about, which is everything.
Right. It's that speaking authority.
Yeah.
It's that confidence in the way you come across. And that's true for everybody, no matter what situation anybody's in. If you can speak with confidence, and if you don't know the answer, you just tell people, I don't know that answer, but I'm going to get back to you. And you get back to them and you follow through.
Yeah.
And as long as you do that, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that honesty level, that's a really good point. That is super important because I think a lot of people just appreciate you being like, I don't know, because we're human. We don't know, like, but I'll figure it out for you. Well, you certainly didn't seem like that, and I'm assuming you didn't pee your pants because it all went well. So
I didn't.
Goal achieved.
Right. I made it through.
You know, though, that I love tangible, like, hey, make some goals and try to hit them. Like, that to me is a very tangible, good piece of advice that we kind of forget about. Like, what an easy thing to just make some goals. And like, so now how have your goals evolved since that one? Or is that always
So,
still on your list?
well, it's always going to be on the list. It's always, but you know what? I'm very comfortable talking in front of other people. That to me has never been a problem. But now the goals are different. So it could be where I go in and say, we're going to raise this amount of money for this charity, or it could be I want to promote, I want to upsell an extra bottle of wine because I know that this will give the charity just that much more money.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might be a situation where, I've been to this house a couple times now, and, really this would be a great opportunity for somebody to become a wine advisor as well. So maybe that's my goal is I want to recruit somebody and have them, be part of the business,
Yeah.
part of that, promoting, raising money for charity.
Yeah.
So now I do go with those thought process in mind, or it could be the case of, I'm trying to build my fall. I'm trying to build that September, October, November, December, working in through the holidays. And so maybe my goal is to book another sampling out of that sampling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always different, just depends on, the situation and what I'm walking into.
Right. So, well, couple things. Now that it's like, now that you're in it and you're working it as a business and you're meeting people and you're booking parties,
Yeah.
what would you tell somebody that is considering, maybe went to something and was like, wow, maybe this is for me, or just like you said, kind of in the back of their mind, like maybe this could be something for me. Like, how do you know, or what advice would you give?
I would give them, there's always that 24-hour rule, right? You want to make sure and you want to think about it for those 24 hours because especially at a wine sampling, and I always go back to that, in my head of was it the wine thinking that, or was it me thinking that, right? Give it that 24 hours in the wine business to see if that's something that you want to do. If it's for yourself, or any other business, think about it. Give it that 24 hours and picture yourself doing that. Picture yourself, are you able to dedicate those extra 4 hours a week? Are you able to dedicate that extra 2 hours a week? Or maybe it's a day, or however much time you have.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to jump into it, you got to be committed to jump into it.
Yeah.
You don't want to just jump in and, okay, I'm going to have instant gratification, because you're not. You're not going to have instant gratification.
No.
Right? This is a long haul. This is a lifestyle change. This is a commitment change. And if that's a goal and that's something that you want to do, then, jump in full feet and hold on tight, because it's a wonderful journey, but it's not a fast journey.
Oh, God.
Right? You and I have had that conversation.
It is like a slow moving tortoise.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like the tortoise just wants to roll over and just kind of like flail. It's so true though. I was thinking that this morning because I was doing a task, sort of like a mundane task, where I was like, God, this just takes time, man. Like, I gotta just keep doing those little things, and you really can't evaluate anything until you see it over time. But we all want everything to happen overnight, so it's tough, especially for anybody who's watching that has a side hustle or thinking about doing that. Like, it takes a lot. It still takes a lot of time, and it still takes a lot of like over the length of time to see if it's worth it.
Right. Right. And that's a huge thing, is just making that commitment and knowing you're not going to see instant results.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get that instant gratification. And if you're willing to put the time and energy and the effort into it, it'll pay off.
Yeah.
It will definitely pay off.
Yeah.
You just have to be patient. It's, having the patience.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So let me ask you this, since people who are watching, even though no one's really commented if you are wine lovers or not, but I'm assuming you are if you are watching. If not, get with it, girl. do you have any tips? Like, tell us some tips maybe that you've learned, or now that you're like, oh my gosh, now that I have this business, I know this just when I enjoy wine myself. Like, what would you, just a couple little wine tidbits I think would be interesting.
Sure. So the one that people that I would say that I did not know until I started this business, and what a lot of people are just so interested in knowing about, is the 20-minute rule.
Mm-hmm.
And what the 20-minute rule is that when you are drinking a white wine, you always want to take it out of the refrigerator 20 minutes before you serve it to your guests.
Right.
And when you are drinking a red wine, you always want to put it into the refrigerator 20 minutes before you're serving it to your guests. And I didn't know that before.
Me neither.
And the reason why is because wine is served at different room temperatures, or different temperatures, I shouldn't say room temperatures. A sparkling wine is served at 45 degrees. A white wine is served at 55 degrees, with a red being served at 65 degrees.
Hmm.
And a lot of our houses aren't kept at 65
Any of
degrees.
those degrees, unless you're
No.
on Laszczak, because 65 is about it in the summer.
So, so to do that, to put your wine in the refrigerator 20 minutes before, you're going to take that room temperature wine and you're going to kind of bring it down to that 65 degrees if it's red.
Yeah.
With white, your refrigerator is probably a little bit colder than, 45, right? Or 55, I should say. But taking it out of the refrigerator, it kind of warm it up just a little bit to get it to that 55 degrees, which is the optimal drinking for white wine.
Mm-hmm.
And then with a sparkling wine, just taking it right out of the refrigerator when you're ready to serve it. No 20-minute rule on a sparkling,
Okay.
because you just want to take it right out of the refrigerator, or if you have it in an ice bucket where it's keeping it cold, you can just take it right out of the ice bucket and serve it from there. Because you want to keep it at that, 35 degrees for serving
Yeah.
a sparkling.
Oh yeah, you did teach us that at our wine tasting at our house, and that was like mind blown, because I do hate when I go somewhere and someone gives me red wine right out of the fridge. Like, it's just, I'm like trying to warm that baby up, like. But that
Mm-hmm.
is good info, which is why, if anyone is interested in hosting a tasting with Carol, they are so much fun. You learn so much stuff. You drink so much great wine. And it is such a good, like, what did we do it for? I can't even remember. We did it for,
I believe you.
birthdays.
Go ahead.
Yeah, birthdays, right?
Yeah.
Birthdays.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So we did it for like a little birthday celebration. There was 10 of us, maybe 8 of us. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time. Well,
It
good.
was. I had a great time.
Awesome. Well, listen, I really appreciate the conversation. I think that it's a really good testament for just sometimes when something feels right to go for it. And you know what? I did want to say, just backtrack for a second when you were saying, like,
Mm-hmm.
think about it for 24 hours. I like to call that the incubation kind of period. It's almost like being that bird and like sitting on that egg, because I do this a lot where I want to do something or I have a great idea, and me, as you said, high achiever, I want to like jump right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you kind of like, especially if you're somewhere where you're super excited and your like adrenaline is going, you would just do it that second. But
Right.
then you go home, you kind of let it settle over a day, over a week, over a month. Like, I've sat on things and like 2 months later, I'm like, oh God, good thing I didn't do that thing. So for both ways, that incubation period, I think, is a really wise piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also glad that you went for it.
Yes. So am I. So am I. No regrets.
Good. Well, okay, I won't keep you, even though I probably could, although I think we should probably have done this at like 6 o'clock at night with a glass of wine. But before I let you go, Carol, I always like to ask, if you could go ahead and sit down and write a letter to, your former self, maybe before this business or back in your 20s, whatever, and you could magically get it to her, what is the piece of advice that you would give that girl?
I would tell that girl a couple things. One, never live your life with any regrets.
Mm-hmm.
Never live with the what if, or I wish I could have, or I wish I would have.
Yeah.
Seize the day kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But then the other thing I would tell that girl is to also be comfortable in your own skin. Because a lot of times we let other people decide our dreams for us. We all have that dream, and that my dream may not be your dream.
Right.
But to be comfortable in your own skin and to know this is what I want, these are my goals, this is what I'm going for, and to go for it and not let anybody else tell you different because their dream is not your dream.
Mm-hmm. Amen,
So
sister.
that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self.
And your daughter on this, who is totally watching this live.
Oh, great. Hi, Helena.
Can you hear that? All
She
right.
knows
Well,
that never live the life without regrets. She does know that.
good. All right. Well, listen, Carol, thank you. I really appreciate your time. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you if they're interested in, Wines for Humanity for a tasting, in maybe if it's sparking their interest as a side hustle, as a career change, where can they find you?
So they can find me at my website is winesforhumanity.com/C Hill. Or my Facebook page is Wines for Humanity. I believe it's also C Hill or it's Carol Hill afterwards. Wow, one of the two.
Well, both of them.
But yeah, but you can contact me either way. But if you Facebook message me, I'll give you my contact information. You can call me and I can answer any questions you may have as well.
And I feel like I should have pointed out earlier because I was thinking about this myself. The wines are delicious. And I was even thinking, like, how many times I've run to Meadows and, like, because I know I have a party in the weekend or something, you can just order wine, right, through you. And,
Right.
like if I know I'm having something coming up, I could be like, hey, Carol, I need this, this, and this, and it gets delivered to my house, right?
Yep, right from the website, or you can call me directly.
Yeah.
And yes, it'll be sent right to your home. Absolutely. And our wines are exclusive for Wines for Humanity. So you're not going to find them at Trader Joe's. You're not going to find them at Whole Foods or any other market. They are strictly created from the vineyards, made directly for Wines for Humanity. So our wines are exclusive. So, if you find them delicious, absolutely stock up. We got some holidays coming up. And who doesn't like to open up a bottle of wine around the holidays?
I do. All right, awesome. Well, thanks, Carol. Again, I really appreciate your time. And anybody who took the time to watch this, thank you guys so much. Please feel free to share. Just tell somebody else to watch. Sometimes you just never know who is going to need this. So please go ahead and share the conversation. We would so appreciate it. And thank you again,
Yeah.
Carol.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will talk soon, hopefully over a glass of wine.
Sounds great. Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Bye.
All right. Bye.